Welcome to Wisdom Within with Tina and Tanya. You are at a turning point. You know what you're done with, things like playing small, ignoring your inner knowing, living for everyone else. But how do you step into what's next? Today, we're talking about using the energy of the new moon to help you figure all of that out. But before we do, I'm Tanya and I guide women to release the past, to trust themselves fully, and to create a life that actually feels aligned and really one that's untamed, real, and completely their own. The embodiment of the unapologetic you. And I do that using intuitive insight, energy healing, deep transformational tools like human design and shadow work, these videos. And I would like to introduce you to Tina.
Hi, I'm Tina, and I guide women over 50 to step out of the shadows and into a life where they feel seen, heard, and deeply connected. Through sacred circles, drum making, and mindset work, we reignite the passion that you thought was lost, and so that you can finally live on your terms.
Awesome. So, welcome, welcome. Let's jump into this energy of this new moon. So, the new moon isn't just about this dark sky. I mean, that is what we see when we walk outside. And I definitely invite you to look if you haven't been, because I know for a long time I didn't even notice what that was. I had no clue what that was. Um, but it's more than just a cycle, it's more than just a season. So, do you want to tell us a little bit about what the new moon is?
So the new moon, it's not, we talk about the new moon as being a time of setting intentions. So it's really like a time to reconnect with your deepest wisdom. And it's a space of stillness where we can start to find those answers that we've been looking for and that are actually waiting for us to are waiting for to listen for us to listen so we can find those answers within ourselves. So with the new moon you don't really need well, right now let's stop with the outside advice and trust what's already inside you.
I know you and I have been talking about that for a while, and we even our last episode was very similar to that, where it's real we really, and that's what we're talking about. This whole channel is trusting that wisdom within, the things that we know. And
Right.
I really feel like being able to use the energy of the moon to help us with that is it's just perfectly timed, right? The energy is already there. Let's harness it. Let's take advantage of it and use it to be able to help us in the work that we do. I feel like
Right.
so often the work that we do, we're doing, there's never a perfect time. There's no right or wrong way. It's not like you have to wait for the new moon, but it just feels like there's an extra support and extra help in that work during that
Mhm.
time of the new moon.
Right. that
Um,
that energy, just having that little extra energy can help us to start to set set, set the intentions that we are wanting to set, but also help us to receive those things.
mhm. And really, when we look at the moon cycles, we have our full moon and then it starts to decrease in size day after day after day until we have just the sliver and then it's gone. And there's this no moon. I mean, of course it's there, but we just can't see it. It's a black moon basically from what we see. And when we think about how that transition in that energy, the moon cycles, it's decreasing to the point where the chapter is closed. It's we have finished the book. It is closed now. And I love that about what you were just saying with where the answers that you've been seeking are waiting for you to listen because now it's like we've closed the book and there's almost like that feel of what do I do next? What book do I read next? Or
Hmm.
what do I step into? And to me, that's very much what I feel with new moon and new moon energy.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. And I was thinking about how the moon is also our emotions too, right? So it kind of helps us to um we kind of end up feeling all the emotions, but it's our emotional body, and we have those ups and downs. And the other thing with the new moon is that it's kind of like a blank slate, right? So it's just like this like what you said, it's that dark time. It's kind of a blank slate. So it's that in between space from the shift of it's like what you said, it's that ending, that closing, and then now we have that shift, and then we can move into whatever it is. But it's right at that time, it's about receiving, and it's about listening and tuning in and just listening to your intuition. And I feel like our intuition is heightened during those strong moon cycles, like the new moon and the full moon. Those, our intuition gets to be heightened a little bit more. And when we stop and we can listen to that, it's going to help us to start to um, understand better what we do want to bring in, what we do want, what we need in our lives, right?
I love that. And I love it because, like, I just keeping that book idea example. When we finish that book, what do we do so often? So often we go back to, oh, what is so and so recommended this. Tina told me to read this book, so I'm going to jump in and grab that one that she recommended. Or this is the next one in my wish list, or I had created a list and this is the order I was going to do it. But really, when we allow ourselves to be open to receive, that's just like what you're saying with that intuition. So for example, because I'm on the book, I'm trusting that it's meant to be there. So I had a plan that as soon as I finish this one book, this is the next one I'm moving into. And then just the other day, I had completely out of the blue this other book come into my field. And I'm like, oh no, this is the one. Like, I'm excited about this. It's not one I should be reading as far as for business or for personal development, but it's very much something that's in my interest. And I really want to read that one next. So it's trusting those little intuitive nudges to be able to lead you in the direction that you're desiring to go versus forcing, well, so and so recommended this one, or this was my plan and I cannot deviate from my plan, or whatever that is. That's what I love about it, is just allow that energy of the new moon to come in and say, hey, here's this idea. Here's this thought. Try this, do that, go this direction, read this book instead
Mhm.
of that book. And so I just
Yeah.
kind of love that in that energy. It's, to me, it's exciting. So it's
Hmm.
like, ooh, what do I get to do next? What am I going to create next? What's the
I
book
like
I'm going
that.
to read
Yeah.
next or whatever?
Yeah.
Um, I
Love
feel
that
very
idea.
excited with new moon energy.
Hmm. Yeah, I love the new moon. Um, because of that, because I feel like it's like almost new beginnings, right? And I love new beginnings. So I'm like, yeah, I'm the spring person all the, every day. If I could do spring all the time, I would be, when spring brings me to life. And so when it's with the new moon, that's kind of how that energy is with me too. It's like new beginnings, these new feelings coming in, these new ideas, this new intuition coming in. So yeah, I love that.
And I love it because this is also transformation energy, right? It's taking
Mhm.
you from, like, when we think about, we've just released, we've just completed, we've finished that chapter. Even though this comes every month, we've
Mhm.
completed that chapter and we're moving into something new. And really, it's like we don't just want to process all the time. We get stuck in that healing loop, like we've talked about already. This is that energy to be able to like step into, who am I becoming? You know,
Mhm.
what am I going to do over the next few weeks? How am I going to step into that version of myself, that higher version of myself, that fulfilled version of myself, that uh, powerful energy version of myself, and really just starting to experience and explore that, not in a place of like in that place of receiving, right, where it's like b- bringing in the what if. It's like that it hasn't been created yet. We don't know who we're going to be in a month. So instead of just
Mhm.
allowing life to happen to us and we end up this way in a month, what if we start to set that intention, set that desire? This is who I'm going to be over the next couple of weeks or next month until the next new moon. Like, what are we creating? I don't know. That's a thing that I love, that feeling of potential.
Right. and the creation energy for me. I love the creation energy and tapping into that womb, our our womb, which is the creator, you know, tapping into that creation energy in our sacral chakra that's going to help us to start to create those things that we want to bring into our lives. And so I just love that idea of allowing this to be that time of what am I creating and what am I, who do I want to be? And, you know, next month, who do I want to be by the next full moon? How do I want to act? How do I want to show up? You know, what are the things that I want to feel? Because those feelings are the strongest things that we can have. Those the feelings are the things that are going to create those shifts. So if we start to bring in that sacral energy along with those feelings of what we want to you know, how we want to feel, how we want to be, or whatever, we bring in those feelings, those strong feelings, that's what's going to help us to start to create that um, new version of ourselves, or new, bring in whatever new we want to bring in, right?
Mm-hmm. And one thing I love about that is, so when we look at the cycles of the moon, we have about 2 weeks until we have roughly 2 weeks till the full moon, and then roughly 2 more weeks until the next new moon. So they're roughly 28-day cycles, right? And the thing I love about that is if I'm looking at who I'm becoming from new moon to new moon, or even just new moon to full moon, these are small increments. You know, so often when we're talking about stepping into a next version of ourselves, or it seems so huge and it seems so 5 years from now, who will I be? I don't freaking know.
Mm-hmm.
Who am I going to be a year from now? I have no idea, because I have such quick shifts and so many shifts that come so quick that for me to try to do a year from now is even, it's not realistic for me, because I shift and turn and pivot and all the things. So I love this because it is bite size and it's doable and it creates change in a short window, right? Like we're looking at, if all we did was focus, even if we didn't go from new moon to new moon, if we just focused on from new moon to full moon, that's 2 weeks. Who am I becoming in these next 2 weeks? And that doesn't have to be an enormous shift. It's, you know, I'm embodying meditation in the next 2 weeks, or whatever that can be. But this is again listening for that. What if my intention is I am someone who receives for the next two
Mm-hmm.
weeks? I'm receiving, I'm listening, I'm tuning in. That's for me more bite size, more doable, and it doesn't feel um like I don't get so attached and nervous, because I can shift again. You know, it's like it just makes, I don't know, for me it just feels a lot more flexible and fluid, less rigid, and
Mm-hmm.
more fun if it's
Yeah,
every 2 weeks or every month.
right. And those that I mean that's how you make change, right? Is those bite-sized pieces, those little small steps that we create all the you know, consistently. That's how we make change, or how we create change in our lives. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, definitely I love those, that idea of keeping it bite-sized.
Mm-hmm. And we're talking a lot about tuning into your intuition and receiving. This is a big time of receiving the messages and whatnot. So, what are some thoughts for you about why our listeners might struggle to hear that inner wisdom? I know we've talked about that in the past, but I think it's worth bringing up again.
Yeah. I think one of the biggest things is we have been conditioned to look outside of ourselves, right? We look to society, we look to our family, we look to the latest book, we look to the latest guru that's happening, and how they're going to change our life, right? Instead of looking inwards and um, finding those deep answers within ourselves, which that's the only thing that's going to be right for us, right? Is to listen to our own um, inner wisdom. And that's what we talk about in this on this channel, is connecting with that inner wisdom. And so, you know, there's just like that that conditioning that we have, and I know I do it all the time. I know you've talked about you do that is like we're constantly looking outside of ourselves for those answers that we think, somebody else is doing so much better than us. So maybe they have the answer for us, or maybe I should be doing this the way that somebody else does it, or whatever, but we're always looking outside of ourselves. And sometimes what we need to do is start to go within. And the other thing is sometimes we're so dang busy all the time. Our lives are busy. You know, we a lot of us have lives that, you're working outside of the home, you're taking care of your kids, you're running kids from activity to activity. You stay busy, 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 and you never have that time to really listen to that intuition. And that is one that really can be um, detrimental to us too, where we, so what happens is we're busy, busy, busy all the time, never listening to our intuition. So then we go back to the, what's so and so telling me that I should do, right? So we kind of fall into those patterns like that. Those are some of the big ones that I can think of right offhand. Yeah.
Well, as you were saying, busy, 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 I was even thinking of I've got a couple clients that aren't as busy chasing kids as much as they used to. They're in a situation like I don't chase kids as much as I used to because I have two that
Right.
are out of the house and one that's in the house, but he's got his vehicle and he chases himself.
Mm-hmm.
Um, very much resonate with that when they were a little bit younger. But now, like the conversation I had with these clients the other day was, okay, when you're not chasing your kids around anymore now that they're kind of doing a different chapter, what are you busy doing? And a lot of
Mm-hmm.
times it's housework or overthinking. So even though there's not actually actions, they're busy in that mental state of overthinking, and the amount of exhaustion that comes from that is insane. It's
Right.
physically and mentally, emotionally draining on all
Mm-hmm.
levels when you're stuck in that loop of overthinking. And
Yeah.
so even that, like just as you were talking about that phase of constantly doing and whatever, like we talk about people who retire and they're like, I'm more busy now than I was when I was working. And yes, some of it is in the doing, right? Maybe it's going
Mm-hmm.
to grandkids' events and those kind of things, or traveling. But quite often for many of us, especially if we're kind of in that in between stage, it's overthinking. And 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 really we forget that less is more. Like that's something that we've
Mm-hmm.
lost in society, is the that less is more. So I kind of
Right.
wanted to point that out for people who are like, I'm not chasing kids. It's,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
And,
but there's other things going on.
and we have social media, right? We scroll. We're just scrolling. So we're not, what are we doing? We're scrolling social media, or we're watching the TV, or we're um, doing all those types of things, which are also taking us away from our intuition, which are also taking us away from having um, that time when we can sit with ourselves and be with ourselves.
Hmm.
So,
I know for me, one of the things that kind of prevents me from hearing when I struggle to hear that inner wisdom, one of the things that really happens to me is I'm not sure I want to hear that I want to receive the message. Sometimes I'm scared of what I'm going to hear. I have done that. I can see patterns in my life where I've done that over and over again. Um, Fear of what the message will be, fear of what I will have to do as a result of receiving that message. Um, and because we know that truth often calls for change. It often calls for us to shake things up, to try something new, step the fuck out of our comfort zone. We know that
yep.
that can come from hearing that inner wisdom, and that can come with a lot of resistance and anxiety and what we feel within us when we're like, oh. So when we can kind of like, we do a lot to avoid that, right? Being afraid of what we want to hear. We feel it coming. We know that there's that message coming in. And so I'm going to distract myself or be overly busy or all those things that we just talked about because I'm afraid of what I might hear. What if
Yeah.
I'm told that I need to do something that I don't want to do?
Mm-hmm.
Or I don't know how to do. Well, we need to work on releasing the how, but we're programmed to jump there. So I
Hmm.
think that's a big one for people too. And that's a big one for me.
Yeah.
And then also, I'm still breaking those patterns of self-doubt. And I don't know that they're ever going to be gone. I do believe that that's just part of life and part of being human. And if we, the things that I used to have self-doubt about, I've overcome those in many ways, but there's new ones all the time. And it's just that process of really, I've done the healing. Stepping into myself in that next layer brings self-doubt. It brings that uneasy feeling of, but what if I can't? Or what if I
Hmm.
don't know how to do it? Or, all those things that come with it. And that self doubt can be really loud, especially in that time of transition and change.
Yeah. Stepping into the unknown is scary, and it's really so that self-doubt, and I struggle with that myself. I mean, I've had all these changes in my life, and I do all, and have had um growth and growth and growth, but we still have those periods of uh I'm not sure I'm doing this how I could be, or how, maybe this is not right. It's that stepping into the unknown. And that's the other thing of acceptance too, and allowing. But when we're stepping into that unknown, I think that really brings up a lot of the self-doubt too. So
So, my thoughts with that is those are things that kind of make it hard for us to hear that inner wisdom, hard for us to sit down and even request it to come in.
yeah.
Um, but really remembering that we always have a choice, that we always get to decide. And most often, when I sit down and put away those fears and the busyness and whatever, and actually take the time to tap into my intuition, the guidance that I get is very doable. It's very small steps, it's mindset shifts, it's not so large that it's undoable, I guess, is kind
Hmm.
of like I feel very much like when I let go of all of those things that prevent me from listening to my wisdom within and actually tune into my wisdom within, it's like, oh, I can do that. That's not so bad.
Hmm.
It's
Right.
almost like I create this a giant mountain. And then when I actually do tune in, it's like totally, okay, I can do this. That's one step I can take. So I feel like that's important too, is just trusting that you're ready. You got this. The things that you need to hear, you're completely prepared for. And most often, you already know it anyway.
Exactly. Yeah, definitely.
So, what are some of the ways that you use the new moon and the energy of the new moon to help connect you to your inner wisdom? Like, how can we use this time to really help us tune in?
It's taking like I love like little, like, I know you love ritual, and all of you like the big
I love
ritual.
the
I
big
like
production.
I like little rituals. I like to sit down and do a little ritual, and just take that time just to step away from all the noise, and just just kind of write down what I want to bring in, and or journal about it, or whatever, speak kind of um writing down those intentions of what I want to bring in to the new moon cycle. And actually it's probably usually from new moon to full moon. And I love just sitting down, lighting a little candle, and just starting to journal, and deciding what I want to bring in. And that is that yeah, that's one of my favorite ways to kind of just start to allow myself to open up to that intuition, and see what I really want to.
Mm-hmm. I love that too. And I love to be able to intentionally and purposefully close that chapter. So I know
Hmm.
I've shared with this with you, but I have a pattern where I get really in like everything we've been talking about. I'm like, this is for me too. Because I get in that space of, especially if it's something that I don't know how to fix right now. So then I start looking for ideas, not necessarily making them my authority, but I'm looking for ideas to make my own. But I really get into the binge of it. And I might have the perfect idea, but I'm actually not even applying it. I'm not even trying it. I just keep going into that cycle of more, more, more. So, like, stepping away from that noise is exactly where I need to be right now. But what I'm doing with this energy is making that intentional, purposeful. Like, okay, that chapter's closed. Like, we're done. I don't have to finish the book. I don't have to do whatever, like, closing, so that I can hear what I need to know and direction I need to receive. And I do love the rituals, but I love being in the darkness. Like, this is the dark night where, not in like the shadow work feel, dark night of the soul, but literal dark moon, dark night. And so just embracing that, because with that brings calm. When we think about in the days past, right, where there wasn't streetlights outside, your streetlight was the moon. So when there is no moon, there's not a lot of activity. So it's
Mhm.
embracing that feeling of setting things down, letting go of the to-dos and the even like working late into the night that I'm guilty of. It's allowing myself to be in the darkness and to feel that subdued, calming
Mhm.
energy that just really to kind of help me in that space. So, yeah, sitting in silence, meditating, journaling. I love to journal by candlelight too. There's something about that vibe of candlelight that I just really love. But it's like cutting out the noise, no podcasts, no books, no endless seeking and chasing, and just really being able to bring in that energy even of the unknown.
Mhm. Yeah, I love that. And as you were talking about that darkness, I live in the mountains, so we have no street lights. As a matter of fact, I don't even have a light out, a yard light, except for on my porch. So, it when you walk outside, it is dark during that time, and it's funny how the difference in the moon, and you can watch it up here, how it changes from being really dark at night. And then when it's full, it's almost daylight out there. It's
Yeah.
like so bright, and it's very cool. But I love that how you talked about sitting in the dark. And I that's one thing I really enjoy doing too, is just kind of just sitting with that and just kind of thinking about those things and allowing myself to just be, and not trying to look outside of myself for all of those answers that I think other everybody else has for me.
Mm-hmm.
So because I do fall into that trap quite often, it's like trying to find those answers. And it's not as often as it used to be, but I still find myself looking for those answers somewhere else. And so when I can take that time to just sit with myself, and I love that with the dark moon, to be able to allow that energy to help enhance all of that too. So
Mm-hmm. It's the energy is there, so let's utilize it. And I think one thing that I can even just hear is, but that doesn't work for me, or but I have to
mhm,
have this noise, or I have to have these things. And it's like, allow this energy to shift and bring something different, you know. This I have to is just a story, and it's a story that maybe someone else told you that you have to do this, or maybe it's um a story that you tell yourself based on past experiences or whatever. But this is the time of the energy of bringing in something new. This is
mhm,
that time of being able to say, but what if that chapter is closed? And what if I get to step in? And what if I don't have to fill in the blank anymore?
mhm,
That's how we create that change, by being open to experiencing something different. And in order to do that, we have to try it, right? And it's probably not going to shift on day one, right? You know, um, I know for me, I used to live out in the country, and man, when it was night, it was dark. It was same as you,
mhm,
no street lights, no yard lights, no nothing. It was dark, dark, dark. And so I was very used to sleeping in a like basically blacked out room without doing any
Yeah.
of the blackout stuff, right? And so when I moved into my little downtown space, there's lots and lots of light. And I remember thinking, oh, I'm never going to be able to sleep. There's too much light. Guess what? Never say
Yeah.
never because
Right.
I can. And I used to be, when I lived out in the country, it was very silent at night.
Mhm.
You heard nothing but the animals on occasion and
Right. That's
nothing
what
but
it
the
is.
wind. And now I live on a
Mhm.
busy street and I live right across the street from a ambulance shed. I mean, it's noisy.
Mhm.
I sleep through it. So there is a possibility for something new, even when
Mhm.
you don't think that's a possibility for you. And that is
Right.
the invitation of the new moon, is to allow that chapter of yourself to close so that something new can come through. And I know these examples are just simple, but it can come in any form. It can come in something as simple as being able to sleep when the light's coming in from outside, but it can also be something deeper. It can be, I don't have to carry these patterns into my future, or whatever that may be as well. So they can be as deep
Right.
or as light. It's wherever you are, it meets you where you are in any stage of life.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I love that example. And I think, and that is true. I mean, it's like how it's a good time to start thinking about those shifts that you want to make in your life. And do you really, I mean, we're talking about those shifts but do we really, and you don't have to make the shifts, right? But you can receive something new in your life, or you can start to think about what is there something that might be changing in my life that I want to see move in a different way, or want to see move in a certain way. And so we can use this energy of this new moon to help us to start to move in those directions that, and connecting with our intuition so that we know how we're going to move in those new directions, that, if that's what our choice is.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's tuning into your soul, right? What is it that your soul is wanting you to do?
Yep.
Because if there's, you feel, it's almost like there's this feeling of a pull or feeling of being called, or, and it's not always a physical feeling or an emotional feeling. For me, quite often it's a knowing, or
Mm-hmm.
it's these little synchronicities and signs. That thing keeps coming up. Okay, I get it. I need to pay
Mm-hmm.
attention to this. Is this now or is this later? But it's really just trusting that your soul is going to help you move in the right direction and
Right.
helping you let things go. And quite often it brings things up so that you can let those things go. It's, hey, you're still pissed off about this. There's a lot of anger here. Let's bring it up because it's ready to be let go. And so trusting that your soul is presenting it that to you so that you can let it go, instead of so that you hold on to it tighter. No, you're already doing that. That's not why it came up.
Right.
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 And so it's really letting those things, like, what is it that you want me to know? Like asking your soul, asking yourself, what am I ready to receive? What part of me is rising right now? What part of me is ready to come through and break through right now? Um, what do I already know, but I have been afraid to trust? What is, because quite often, if you really slow down and listen to your soul, you will find that the things that you're reaching out to others for is like that soul piece saying, this is the part I've been afraid to trust within myself. I'm asking Tina because I want her to give me that validation and that answer, but my soul knows it. So that can be a really beautiful clue or little piece to that puzzle to you, is where are you, what topics are you searching for? What are you looking for from others that can be really help, just help you understand what your soul is trying to say to you? And
Right.
knowing that it's got the information for you, you're just most often afraid to trust what you're receiving.
Yeah. Allowing yourself to receive release that need for clarity. You know, that's a big one. And just trusting that you're like what you say, you know, trusting that you don't need the answers, all the answers right now, because that's sometimes what we want, right? We want to know it all, and we want to make sure that everything's going a certain way, and we want to have it all figured out. But if we can just trust the process and be in the process and allow ourselves to um, just, you know, trust the unfolding, basically just allow ourselves to unfold in the way that it needs to be, and allow that energy from the new moon to help us with that unfolding. It can be a beautiful, it's kind of like the flower. I can just see, I just had this vision of the flower petal, you know, the flower just kind of blooming out and just kind of unfolding from the, like the rose, how the rose just kind of blooms out, you know. And that's the unfolding, and just trusting that,
Mm-hmm. And I
letting go
love
of the
this.
uncertainty.
I love that because it brings in that piece of human design that I just love, which it's that undefined ajna center, right? It's in your human design chart. It would be like right here on in your design. And if that's not colored in, if you have an undefined center, there's really a craving and a desire for certainty. And but that's when we're in our not self theme, is when we start really succumbing to that need for certainty, just what you're describing exactly, where I'm trying to figure out all the answers. I need to know it all right now. I have to know that if I do A, B will happen as a result. I need evidence, I need proof, like that type of thing. And even as I say that, you can feel how that's heavy and hard
Right.
energy. I have this undefined, so I'm very, very aware of this.
I believe I do too.
Yes, we both do. And there's this
Yep.
hunger. It really is this hunger for certainty. But the
Mm-hmm.
beautiful strategy in that is exactly also what you just said, just releasing the need to be certain, being
Mm-hmm.
open minded, and not, yes, open minded for new ideas, new thoughts, but also open mindedness for it. Maybe I'll give it a try and we'll see, rather than this has to work for me, or that different energy. And so it's very releasing that need to be certain, just allowing uncertainty to be part of our existence and to be okay with it. And when I'm living my most aligned self, I'm very good about that. I feel it. It's, I believe this until it until I don't.
Right.
This is certain for me right now until it's not. I
Yep.
know this to be true until something shifts. And I can feel that ebb and flow a little bit, because of course I have my beliefs. Of course I have the things that I stand for and believe in, and the processes and systems that are working for me. And also allowing that to be fluid, right? I was listening to a book the other day, and the author was saying, really structured, if you don't do this, then this won't work. And I'm like, I'm not
Yeah.
subscribing to
Yeah.
that part. Other
Right.
parts I love, I'll keep those. That piece I'm chucking. And so
Mm.
it was just, that is that fluid. So when we can really just allow ourselves, when we catch ourselves in that looking for that certainty and craving that certainty, to just be like, okay, that's not my strategy. My strategy is to allow, my strategy is to let that go, to be uncertain, to trust the flow. Like that's another, my little human design tip that,
Yeah.
as you were talking about certainty, I'm like, oh, I know
Yep.
exactly where I find that one.
Yep. And stepping into that unknown again, that's stepping into the unknown in the process, allowing the process to unfold as it's going to unfold. And sometimes, often, more often than not, it's better than you ever imagined that it was going to be. So in that unfolding, we find more than we ever thought we wanted, right?
Well, and it's
So,
beautiful with the new moon as well, because if you think about walking outside in the dark with the only light coming from the stars, it's a very, very dark night. You literally cannot see the next step ahead.
mhm, mhm,
Literally cannot see. And that's hard for us to imagine when it's been so long since many of us have been out in the dark like that.
right.
But what you can see is that, like, little teeny spot, you know? I mean, maybe this is like the foot shuffle, but you can see a little bit.
Hmm.
And that might be all you can see, but you can see that little bit. So even though you can't see further, and that's where we've been programmed that we're supposed to have these big vision, long-term goals,
Right.
and the new moon reminds us that in reality, all we can see is literally that what is right in front of our face. And so
Mhm.
allowing ourselves to just take that step, that itty
Right.
bitty micro step, that little shuffle. I mean, I love that with the new moon energy as well. And just like you were saying right when we started, this was, it's, to me, it's the breath, right? This completed. Okay,
Yeah.
taking a
Yep.
breather because
Hmm.
tomorrow there's going to be a sliver of light. So today in this moment, maybe the only thing we do in this time is decide which direction we want to go. And even if we
Right.
can't see it, and I don't know necessarily it's that way, where is it that I want to end up so that tomorrow when there's a little bit of light, I can start taking steps in that direction.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I love that. That is way cool.
So fun.
Yeah.
So as we do this, we kind of transition into the next step. So new moon days and then the days following. It's really moving from that seeking to that knowing. And it's really the old version of you that we validate, that we love, but that old version needed that roadmap. So I'm stepping into this person who's willing to trust the unknown. Like this is part of that transition and movement, right? That
Hmm.
that new version of you trusts herself to take the next step, even if I don't know the whole path, even if I don't have that certainty. It's that trusting within, and it's that uh, wishing under the new moon. It's not wishing about, not wishing on the moon. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm like, wish upon a star, wish upon a moon. I fall
You're right.
into that where I wish, you know, I'm like
Yeah.
sending out, like, help me with this. And I'm sending out this vague wish of whatever it is that I'm trying to get rather than owning what I want. It's almost like I'm telling even the universe, tell me what I want. I don't even know. And the universe is like, it doesn't work that way, honey. You own what you want. You step into that place. You claim those desires.
Hmm.
And then from there, it's taking action toward that next chapter.
Yeah. Taking those little steps, just like what you said, those action steps are the ones that are going to start to help us to move into those the next version of ourselves or whatever it is that we're wanting to grow, right? So it's those action steps and those little um, things that we can do on a daily basis. So if we can sit down and allow our intuition to come in and allow us to think about or allow us our intuition to show us what we want in the upcoming new cycle instead of that thinking of because that I find myself doing this. I'll sit down and I'm writing down those wishes like what you said. I This is what I want, this is what I want, although mine's probably a little bit more specific, but still it's like these things that I'm not totally sure I want, right? So it's taking that time to listen, go within and listen to that intuition, that intuitive piece of you who is going to tell you, listen to your soul, like what you said earlier. Just listen and allow those that knowing to come in and then send those out and allow that energy of the new moon to help you to start to build on that, but then also taking those little action steps on a regular basis. I think that's where we get stuck is we wish and we send it out there and this is what my intentions are for this new moon cycle, and then we leave it, we walk away, and we don't start to integrate, we don't start to move in that direction. We just and so the next month we find out that we're still in the same place that we were before because and I know you and I have done this with the full moon. we've written down the same thing that we want to release every single time. And it's like, I'm not taking those action steps that I need to take. I throw it in the fire, and that's, that's cool, and I do these releasing ceremonies, and that's cool. But when I get home, I've left it there, and I forgot even what I even, instead. And that's
Yep.
the same with the intentions with the new moon. We if we can set those intentions and put them top of mind. So it reminds me of my gratitude practice. It's like always keeping that top of mind, because that's going to change your mindset, right? And that's the same thing with these intentions. If you keep those top of mind, maybe write them down in your journal, or after you've allowed your soul to tell you what you want, write it down in your journal. But then put it on a, like, I have a board up here. I could write them on my board, or write a sticky note, kind of like I know you do, um on your phone. You do little
Leaders.
alarms and
Mhm.
reminders, and you could do that, or a sticky note on your computer, or a sticky note on your cabinet door, or something that's got those intentions, so that, or even writing down those action steps, and what is one action step I can take today to move me towards that intention, and then stick it all over. Once that action step's done, do the next action step and write that down. Remind yourself constantly to take those little steps, because that's where the magic is in working with our this energy, and working when we want to make those changes in our life. And I'm as guilty of it as anybody, of dreaming of, this is what I want, this is what I want. But then it's still in my journal. I This is what I want, this is what I want, and it's sitting in my journal, and I haven't looked at it in the whole moon cycle.
Mm.
So, and I don't even go back and look at it the next moon cycle. I probably writing the same thing down every time I you know and so those are some tips, is just like when we're wanting to make those changes in our life, no matter how big or no matter how small, we have to remember to take you know those little action steps, keep it top of mind when we're wanting to be intentional in everything that we do. That's part of the intention, is keeping it top of mind. And that if that means you write it down on every little thing around, so that you can see it all the time, that's going to help you to start to take those steps.
And as I was listening to you, I was thinking about how beautiful that is to shift from being disempowered to being empowered,
Mm-hmm.
from um, giving all of your power away to what I wish I had and what I'm wishing for and what I'm intending to come into my life, versus the empowered version, which is the support. Like I'm bringing this in, and this is my intention, and I trust the universe to support me rather than do it for me. Like my
Mm-hmm.
the empowering is, I'm making this happen. I will find a way for this to work, or for this to come into my life, or whatever it is that we have on that list, this to shift. I'm choosing steps to take in that direction, versus, which is very, very empowering, where
Right.
it's, I don't have to do it all alone because I have guides unseen and unseen. I've got friends, I've got support in that way, but it's my choice. They're not doing it for me. I'm not sitting here wishing anymore. I'm taking action towards it. And that feels very exciting. It
Mm-hmm.
feels, it may not necessarily feel easy, but it doesn't feel like it's okay. Whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
we'll figure it out. It's much more hopeful, brings a lot of like hope and excitement, rather than staying stuck and wishing and hoping that it
Right.
comes to fruition in some way.
Yeah. I mean, that's manifestation, right? That's because that's the, we hear all the time about manifestation, and how all we have to do is think it. No, we have, though, we think it, yeah. but we do have to take some steps. It's not going to just drop right in our lap just because we're thinking it. And we got, whatever steps it takes, it could be just even changing your mindset so that you are thinking those good thoughts all the time, that positive, or that thing, we're bringing it in, we're bringing it in, we're bringing it in. And but that's still something that we have to do. That's taking that step. Or, we want our business to be a certain way. So we still need to take the steps to create the business in that way. And it's going to unfold in a whole so many times, like I said earlier, unfolds in a way that you never even expected. But when we're starting to take those little steps, that's when it starts to magnetize toward us, and that's when it starts to come to
Mhm.
us, right? So, yeah,
And this
that's
new moon energy is always like a manifestation type
yep,
energy.
yep,
And it is planting that seed, bringing that in. What is it that I want to make manifest in the next through the
mm-hmm.
next cycle?
Cycle,
Um, but yeah, it's having the energy aligned with you as you take action
yep,
and as you take
exactly,
steps. And
yeah,
the energy can't come and do it for you, but the energy can absolutely like push you and like help you, and using that energy to help you with that is that's what it's here for too. So being able to take advantage of that and harness that and use that to your help you get things through, um, to me it feels very supportive. Like my efforts will um, have a little additional oomph behind them,
right,
is kind of what
yeah,
I love with that new moon. And that, because we do often hear new moon as a time of manifestation, um,
mm-hmm.
but we don't often hear about the taking action piece and the, you know you taking action and you taking steps and whatever your piece is, really
Yeah,
allow that to be empowering rather than, oh, well, I have to do all the work. Of course you do.
yep,
And that's exciting. You get to do the thing. I don't want somebody to raise my kids for me. I want to raise my kids the way I want to raise my kids.
right,
That's
right.
empowering. And we can just look at it through a different lens.
Yeah, definitely. And I just, yeah, I love the new moon energy and and being in that receivership and just allowing, um, knowing that I'm open to receiving, allowing myself to be in that open to receiving, but then also staying, not being fearful of the unknown, allowing ourselves to go into that unknown, um, but taking those steps as we go into that unknown, even if it's like I said, the mindset shift, or just, those little tiny steps, like what we talked about, is
Mhm.
going to help you to start to manifest that life, or that change, that thing, whatever it is that you want to bring into your life. So,
I love it. I love it.
yep.
Anything else on this topic before we complete and close?
Nope, I think I'm good.
Got it.
Yep.
So, really, the invitation is to truly utilize the energy that's available in the new moon. Really giving yourself that opportunity to take ownership of what it is that you want, and allow, and like, what is it that I want to plant the seeds? What would I like to grow? And knowing that you've got the energy to back you during this time as well.
Right.
I love it. So, Tina, what are some offers that you have? What are you doing right now in the world?
Right now, I have a coaching program coming up. It's called Igniting Your Sacred Wisdom, and it's for women over 50 who have gone through life changes and who are wondering what in the heck to do next. And so it's a cool program that I've come up with, and um, just launching it. So,
Love it. Awesome.
yeah.
We'll have a link for that down in the description if you want to learn more about that and figure out how to work with Tina in that. I have new moon Reiki sessions. That's the one thing that I
Oh,
do.
that's going to be
We
fun.
have it right now. We're in new moon energy. So for the day before, the day of the new moon, and the day after, I offer new moon Reiki sessions. And really, it's about just kind of helping clearing any blocks or anything that's in the way of being able to know what you want to step into, and then being able to plant those seeds and align that energy to support that next chapter that you're moving into. So I love these. They're so fun. They're the same price and same time and all the same things as my typical Reiki sessions. They just have a
Mhm.
very specific focus. So those are fun. And then I also have my Unbound program. That's my one-on-one coaching program. And it's really helping women who are done pouring everything into everyone else at the expense of herself. If you know that's you, you know that's you. You know, I have like raised the hand over
Right.
here. But she's ready to feel confident in her decisions. She's really ready to be able to trust her intuition, finally have that clear direction for her future. And I'm using the human design and the gene keys in there. So I have a really awesome structure based as well as all of my intuitive guidance through that as well. So it's very personalized and customized. So it's I'm loving the program. It's super amazing.
Yeah, cool. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
All right. So with that, we will jump off here. So please, as always, if this was helpful for you, share it with someone. Word of mouth is extremely beneficial for us. So please, if you love this, share it with another and tell them, hey, I think you need to see this episode, or hey, let's do this new moon practice together. That would be
Mhm.
fabulous. We would love that. So, and then, and I would love to know what resonated most with you. So comment below. Let us know. We'll be interacting with you in the comments as well.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. We will see you soon.
All right. See you.